We did not abandon the moon in 1972 because we ran out of money or lost interest. We left because the far side was already occupied, and we were quietly warned to stay away. For over half a century, the most powerful space agencies on Earth have maintained a curated silence about the lunar hemisphere that faces away from us. It is a region shrouded in permanent radio shadow and physical isolation, a place where the laws of geology seem to collide with something far more deliberate.
That's one small
While the
step
world
for man,
celebrates
one
the grainy
giant leap for
footage of the
mankind.
Apollo landings on the visible side, the vast, cratered expanse of the far side remains a black box. It is the ultimate hidden chamber of our solar system, and the door has been locked from the inside. The mystery begins with the very nature of the moon's orbit. It is tidally locked to Earth, a cosmic coincidence that ensures one side is forever hidden from our eyes. To see the far side, one must physically travel behind the lunar disk, cutting off all contact with home. When an astronaut slips behind that curve, they enter the most profound silence in the known universe. There is no radio chatter, no television signals, no heartbeat of a billion people. There is only the hum of the life support system and whatever might be waiting in the dark. During the Apollo 10 mission, as the command module drifted over the far side, the crew reported hearing what they described as outer space music. It was a rhythmic, whistling sound that defied explanation. It wasn't a signal from Earth, and it wasn't supposed to be there. For 2 full minutes, the crew sat in a state of growing unease as the whistling pulsed through their headsets, a melody from a source that officially did not exist. If you look at the few official images released of the far side, you will notice a jarring difference between it and the side we see every night. The side facing Earth is covered in Maria, the dark, smooth volcanic plains that create the familiar face we know. The far side, however, is a jagged wasteland of mountains and craters, with almost no smooth plains at all. It is as if the moon was designed with a shield on one side and a blank, impenetrable wall on the other. But even more unsettling than the geology are the inconsistencies in the visual record. Why is it that in an era of 8K resolution and deep space telescopes capable of seeing distant galaxies, our most recent public maps of the lunar far side are often composed of stitched-together, low-resolution composites? There is a curious blurring in specific topographic depressions, a digital fog that seems to settle only over the areas where the shadows grow too long and too straight. Sectors within the Aitken Basin, the largest and oldest impact crater on the moon, have remained suspiciously absent from high-definition public releases.
Right there, the pulsation
Independent
rate is
analysts have pointed to geometric anomalies in these regions,
confirmed.
structures that do not follow the chaotic patterns of natural cratering. There are reports of spires that rise miles into the thin lunar atmosphere, casting shadows that are too thin and too sharp to be mountains. There are depressions that emit a faint, rhythmic glow during the long lunar night, pulsing with a frequency that matches the moonquakes recorded decades ago. When the Chinese rover Yutu-2 landed in this region, it sent back a single tantalizing image of what it called a mysterious hut on the horizon. The official explanation eventually settled on a small rock, but the sudden shift in communication and the total lack of subsequent close-up photos left the global community wondering why the initial excitement was so quickly dampened. In the world of high-stakes space exploration, excitement is often a liability. The silence of the far side is not just a lack of sound, it is a lack of transparency. For decades, the narrative has been that the moon is a dead, sterile rock, a relic of a violent past.
Look at this reading right
Yet,
here.
the seismic sensors left behind by the Apollo missions recorded thousands of moonquakes that defy conventional science. Some of these tremors lasted for over an hour, a phenomenon that should not happen on a solid, cold body. The moon rang like a bell. This led some researchers to hypothesize that the interior is far less dense than we have been told, or perhaps even hollow. If the moon is not what it appears to be, then the far side would be the logical location for any non-terrestrial presence to operate without the risk of being spotted by a backyard telescope or a surveillance satellite in low Earth orbit. It is the perfect blind spot, a sanctuary of stone 3,000 kilometers thick. Consider the radio quiet zone. Because the moon blocks all signals from Earth, the far side is the most pristine radio environment in our solar system. It is the perfect place for a telescope to listen to the whispers of the early universe, but it is also the perfect place for something to broadcast without being detected by us. In the late 1960s, rumors circulated about a classified series of photographs taken by Lunar Orbiter 2. These images allegedly showed several massive, monolithic objects casting long, regular shadows across the Mare Moscoviense. These shadows were too sharp and too tall to be natural formations. The images were quickly filed away, and the mission's focus was shifted elsewhere, away from the geometric anomalies and back toward the safe, gray dust of the visible side. The question of why NASA hasn't released real-time, high-definition video of the far side becomes even more pressing when we look at our current technological capabilities. We have rovers on Mars that send back daily panoramas of red dust and rocks. We have probes passing the rings of Saturn and the icy plains of Pluto. Yet, our closest neighbor remains a mystery in its most secluded parts.
And there you
the
have
official
it,
stance is that there is nothing to see. Yet, every time a new mission is planned for the lunar South Pole or the far side, the mission parameters are shrouded in a level of security, usually reserved for military operations. We are told the moon is a boring, gray desert, yet we treat it with the caution one would afford a live minefield. There is a psychological weight to the far side of the moon. It represents the ultimate isolation. To be there is to be truly alone, separated from the rest of humanity by a wall of solid rock. This isolation is likely why any anomalies found there are so guarded. If humanity were to find evidence of a structure, a beacon, or even a geometric irregularity that suggested intent, the social and theological impact would be tectonic. It is much safer to maintain the great silence. It is easier to tell the public that the moon is a barren waste than to admit that we are being watched from a balcony we can never see. The far side is a mirror held up to our own fears, reflecting a truth that our current civilization may not be prepared to handle. Some former contractors have hinted at the existence of Project Horizon, a Cold War-era initiative that wasn't just about building bases, but about investigating existing ones. They speak of non-natural glass found in the lunar soil and of anomalous thermal signatures that move beneath the surface like the heat of a buried city.
Ladies and gentlemen,
while these accounts are often dismissed as hearsay, they align with the strange behavior of the major space powers today. Why is there a sudden, frantic race to return to the moon now after 50 years of neglect? Is it for resources like helium-3? Or is it because something on the far side has changed? Is the occupant of the far side finally preparing to break the silence? As we look up at the familiar face of the moon, we must remember that we are only seeing half of the story. The side we see is the mask. The far side is the reality. It is a place where the sun sets for 14 days at a time, plunging the landscape into a cold so deep it can shatter steel. In that darkness, away from the prying eyes of Earth, the lunar far side keeps its secrets. Every blurred photo, every censored transcript, and every sudden mission cancellation is a piece of a puzzle that suggests we are not the masters of our own neighborhood. The silence isn't an absence of noise. It's a deliberate choice. It is a boundary line drawn in the dust of a world we claim to have conquered but have never truly understood. The history of lunar exploration is a timeline of redacted moments.
Houston, the surface
During the Apollo 11 mission, there were 2 minutes of radio silence that have never been fully explained. While the official record states it was a technical glitch, technicians at the time whispered about a sighting, a line of lights along the rim of a nearby crater. If such sightings occurred on the visible side, imagine the scale of what might exist on the side that never sees a human telescope. The far side is a vast territory, larger than the continent of Africa, and we have explored less than 1% of its surface. To claim we know what is there is not just arrogant, it is factually incorrect. We are standing on the shore of a dark ocean, claiming we know the layout of the abyss based on the foam at our feet. The most chilling aspect of the far side mystery is the concept of the observer. If a civilization wanted to monitor Earth without being detected, they would not park a satellite in our orbit where we could see it. They would place it on the lunar far side. From there, they could deploy silent probes into our atmosphere and return to a base that is shielded by millions of tons of rock from our radio waves and our sight. It is the perfect vantage point. It is the ultimate hidden camera. When we look at the grainy images released by official channels, we might not be looking at a dead world. We might be looking at the ceiling of a much larger house, one inhabited by a landlord who has chosen to remain unseen until the rent is due. There is a reason the far side is often called the dark side, even though it receives just as much sunlight as the near side. The darkness is metaphorical. It refers to the darkness of our understanding. The lack of raw, unedited data suggests a filtering process that has been in place since the first probes reached the moon in the late 1950s.
While these laws govern the macroscopic world,
we are given the version of the moon that fits our current scientific paradigm. Anything that challenges that paradigm, structures that look like domes, tracks that lead into tunnels, or lights that move in patterns, is scrubbed from the public record to prevent a panic that no government is prepared to handle. We are being managed, kept in a state of comfortable ignorance, while the real history of our satellite is written in the shadows of the Aitken Basin. The great silence of the moon's far side is a reminder of our place in the cosmos. We are a young species, barely out of our cradle, looking out into a neighborhood that may have been lived in for billions of years. The moon is not just a satellite. It is a silent witness to the entire history of Earth. It has seen the rise and fall of the dinosaurs, the shifting of continents, and the birth of civilizations. It has sat there, immobile and watchful, keeping its back turned to us for a reason. Whether that reason is natural or intentional is the question that keeps the directors of space agencies awake at night. They know that the silence is becoming brittle. As we prepare the next generation of lunar missions, the Artemis program and the expansion of the Lunar Gateway, we must wonder what the astronauts will find when they cross that threshold of silence once again. Will they find the barren wasteland we've been promised, or will they find the reason we stayed away for so long? The sensors are more sensitive now. The cameras are sharper. The ability to hide the truth is eroding with every private satellite that enters lunar orbit. The silence is about to be broken, and the truth that emerges may be far more terrifying than the mystery itself. We are returning to the moon, but we are doing so with our eyes wide and our hearts heavy, knowing that we are no longer alone in the dark. The far side is a mirror held up to our own fears and curiosities. It represents the unknown, the modern age's version of "Here be dragons."
Confirmed. We have
mapped the bottom of the ocean and the surface of distant planets, yet the back of our own moon remains a forbidden zone. Until the Day Alive unedited 360-degree feed is broadcast from the center of the Aitken Basin, the suspicion will remain. We are being told a story about the moon, a carefully edited narrative designed to keep us looking at the stars while ignoring what is right behind us. The moon isn't just a light in the sky. It's a sentinel, and its most important secrets are kept where the sun rarely reaches, and where Earth can never hear the screams of the discovered. The mystery of the lunar far side is not a conspiracy of a few men in a dark room. It is the natural result of a species encountering something it cannot explain and choosing to look away. We are not ready for the truth that might be carved into those craters. We are not ready to realize that the silence we hear when we go behind the moon isn't the absence of life, but the presence of something so vast and so old that it doesn't feel the need to speak to us at all. We are like children playing in the light of a campfire, unaware of the eyes watching us from the edge of the woods. For now, the images will remain blurred, the transcripts will remain redacted, and the far side will remain the greatest mystery of the space age. It is a silent, jagged wall at the edge of our world, watching us as we play in the light of our own small achievements. The next time you see the moon hanging in the night sky, thin and silver or full and bright, remember the shadow. Remember the 3,000 kilometers of rock that stand between you and a side of our world that has never been seen by human eyes without permission. The silence of the far side isn't just a physical phenomenon. It's a message. It tells us that some things are meant to be hidden, and some places are not ours to claim. We are guests in this solar system, and the host is waiting in the dark. The final question remains. When we finally step back onto that gray dust and venture into the craters of the far side, will we be welcomed, or will the silence become permanent?
It's spreading faster.
The data suggests we are approaching a tipping point.
At this rate,
the thermal signatures are growing, the moonquakes are frequent, and the lights in the craters are no longer flickering. They are steady. The far side is no longer just a destination. It is a confrontation. As the Artemis missions draw closer, the world holds its breath, waiting to see if the great silence will end with a handshake or a warning that this time we will not be allowed to leave. The moon is watching, the moon is waiting, and the dark side is finally turning toward the light.